Hello third grade. So today we are working on two learning objectives. The first one is to identify works of art from Africa. And we've looked at some African masks and talked about the similarities in the African masks. And our second learning objective is to demonstrate an additive process. And that has to do with printmaking. So we're going to be taking and creating an African mask printing plate and using that printing plate to print our African mask 4 times. And an additive process means that you're taking pieces and adding them to your printing plate. So this is going to be your printing plate, a piece of cardboard. And on the back, I need you to write your name, probably with a marker would be best. And the day you have art, day A, day B, day C. And then you are going to use the templates that I have created with typical average African mask features. So a lot of them come from this handout. And you have this handout here to look at to give you some ideas on decorations and how to design your mask. So you're going to start with the base shape of your mask. And you have, looks like 4 shapes to choose from. So you have a long skinny oval. You have a long skinny oval with ears. You have what looks like almost a shield shape. And these are all tall, vertical, skinny pieces. And then you have one that's wide and horizontal. That is kind of like, I don't know, a big round raindrop, if you put it this way. So I want you to pick one of these base shapes to start with. And I'm going to use this one. And you're going to get yourself some thin cardboard. And you're going to lay the shape down onto the cardboard. And try not to be wasteful and put it right in the middle of your piece. Put it over to one side so that we can have not as much waste and as much scrap left over. Trace around it. I traced around it twice just so I got a nice dark line. And then you're going to carefully cut this out. And when we cut pieces out, I usually say cut right inside the pencil line to cut the pencil line off. But since this is our printing plate, this isn't our finished work, it doesn't matter if you cut the pencil line, if you cut inside the pencil line or outside the pencil line. So now you're going to choose features to go on your mask. And you might want to lay them out to see if they're going to fit. So if I use this big mouth and this nose, I've got to find an eye shape. And if you can't tell what eye shapes are, that's what this handout is for, so that you can look for these shapes for eyes. So I have this eye shape or this eye shape. I think this is considered a mouth shape, or it could be an eye shape since this is so wide. But let's see, if I put the nose here, yeah, I could fit 2 wide eyes like that, even though I think that's supposed to be a mouth. And then here's a smaller mouth. I could put that there. So I think this is what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to try and use the remainder of the scrap to cut out my shapes for my mask. So I'm going to trace 2 eyes. And usually when we have to trace and cut out 2 things, I tell you to fold the paper, trace once, cut once, and you get 2 pieces. But with this cardboard, it's really hard to cut neatly 1 piece, and you certainly, once you fold it in half, it's really hard to cut 2. So you're going to need to trace 2 eyes. And I can fit all my pieces on this one piece of cardboard, thin cardboard, so that works out perfect. And I want you to cut these pieces out as neatly as possible. Okay, so if you decide to do a mouth that has a hole in it, an opening, you're going to want to fold this in half with your drawing on the outside, and that's going to be a little difficult, but just do the best you can. And this isn't exactly folded in half, but it's good. And then you're going to cut this inside ring. This cardboard's too thick for you to try and punch a hole in the middle and cut around, so you just need to fold it in half and open it up. And so since I didn't fold it exactly in half, it's a little off on this one side, so I'm going to trim this. So now you're going to take and create your printing plate. So the first thing you want to do, here's your printing plate, is you want to glue your base down. And you want to use a frame of glue. And I'm laying my pieces down to make sure I lay them in the right spot so that they all fit. I would hate to glue one down and then have to pull it back up later. Okay, so then you're going to use your scraps to add some detailed designs to the rest of your mask. So remember that you have this handout that give you some ideas. You see some triangles, some zigzag lines. Let's see, more and more triangles. We've got some stripes here. So you can use this for help, or you can come up with your own. So I'm going to cut out some triangles. And you want to try to do your mask symmetrically. So if you put something on one side of your mask, you put it on the other side too, so it balances out and it's the same on both sides. I like this shape here, and it's not quite a rectangle, so I'm going to lay it down and cut around it so I can get two that are the same. I could also lay it down and trace around it with my pencil and then cut it out. And again, it's symmetrical, the same on both sides. Okay. And now, any little bits that you have left over, if they're little and there's no possible way to like trace any facial feature, mask features on them, then you may recycle the little bits of scrap. But I don't want you to be wasteful and recycle nice big pieces, because we want to keep it for other projects. So here is my printing plate, but now I need to get it ready to be printed. So this is called a collagraph print. When you add things and you do an additive process where you're adding pieces on top of other pieces to print from, it's called a collagraph printing plate. And so now I need to seal this to make this ready for printing ink and to even be able to be wiped off underneath the running faucet. So the way that you're going to make this sealed is you're going to use what's called gloss medium. So the way that you'll seal this to make this ready for printing is you're going to use some gloss medium, which looks like runny glue, and a paintbrush. And this is going to be kind of messy, so I'm going to use a paper towel to go under my work instead of a placemat, because this stuff gets really sticky and it will dry to the placemat. So we're just going to use a paper towel, and you're just going to paint this onto the base of your printing plate and then onto the top. Now I'm going to try and stay away from these pieces right here because these were just glued, and so they might not be completely stuck there yet. And you want to do a nice thick coating. So you want to get in all, whoops, see this triangle wasn't glued on very good, wasn't stuck there yet, and so my paintbrush pulled it up, so I had to put it back. But you want to put it on nice and thick. And this is going to dry shiny. And you want to get in the little cracks and crevices. And my nose keeps kind of flying up, so I'm going to put some gloss medium underneath and hopefully hold that down to keep it flat. You have some little pieces that just keep moving, then maybe you need to give it a minute to dry and kind of get sticky before you start to do the gloss medium. So this keeps kind of coming up, curling up here, so I put some gloss medium underneath. Hopefully that'll help it stay. And it's okay if your gloss medium's thicker in some places. Like, see how mine's pretty thick around each triangle. You don't want it too thick, so you don't want it super, super thick and white. But so you can go through with your paintbrush and kind of smooth that out. But thick is good for most of it. And if you can kind of get the sides of your printing plate to kind of help seal those. Now, this is finished, but you don't want to leave it on the paper towel. It would stick to the paper towel like glue. And then you have all these paper towel pieces stuck around it. So your hands are going to get a little messy. You're going to peel this off the paper towel. You're going to put the paper towel in the recycle bin, and you're going to put this on the drying rack to dry. So when you get your printing plate back, it's going to look like this. It's going to be shiny and covered in gloss medium. And the gloss medium is going to be dry. And now you're going to be ready to print. So you're going to need to have a placemat. And we're just going to use white ink and print on colored paper. So you're going to get 4 pieces of colored paper, 1 in each of the traditional African colors, green, orange, yellow, and red. And you're going to need to write your name on each of these. And the day you have art, day A, day B, day C. So at the table, we'll have a meat tray, a styrofoam meat tray with a little bit of ink, and you'll have a brayer. And what you're going to want to do is roll the ink on the brayer, and you're going to want to get an even coverage across the brayer, all the way around from one end to the other end. So if I keep rolling like this, it only gets ink in the middle. So then I turn and I roll this way to get ink on the sides, but still I don't have ink over the whole thing. So I had to keep going back and forth, picking up my brayer and moving until I get even coverage, which I don't have some there. Okay, so now I have even coverage over my whole brayer. You only need a little bit of ink. A little bit of ink goes a really long way. And ink is special. It's different than paint because it's sticky. And the reason that you want your ink to be sticky is because you want your paper to stick to your printing plate so that you can get a good print, a good image. So now you're going to roll this out and you want to cover your entire mask, not just these raised facial features and details, but the whole mask. So here along the edge, the base of your mask, the base of your printing plate, doesn't need to have ink on it and shouldn't have ink on it. You might have a little bit on there, but that's okay. You're not trying to cover that. So you're gonna roll. And you'll see when you start rolling, it just goes on these raised areas. So you've got to get in between too. So you have to go this way and get the ears. You might need to tilt your brayer and get the ink. And look, do you have even coverage? No, I don't have any ink here on the mouth. I've got a spot on my nose that's missing. My eye has a spot missing. I need to get some ink over here on the face. Now, close to the raised areas, you're not going to be able to get ink in there because those areas are just too small. So I won't be able to get white ink in between these pieces because they're just too small. But my face, my cheeks, and my chin, I should be able to get some ink on there. So that's pretty good. Now my printing plate here has been used 5 or 6 times, so it's kind of coming to the end of its use. Yours will not be used that many times. So what I mean by this is I have printed 4 papers from this 5 times. So I have rinsed and run this underwater 5 times, and it's starting to get warped and not wanting to take the ink very well. Yours, you won't have that problem. So here's my printing plate inked up. I have a little bit of ink on the base, but that's okay. And now I'm going to take my first paper with my name facing up where I see it and the clear plain spot of the paper down. I'm going to set it down on my mask and I'm going to rub all over the whole mask with my hand. And I want to get between the eyes and around the nose, and you can kind of feel that, and get the ears, get the top up where the stripes are, get the mouth and the chin, go around the mouth, between the mouth and the nose, and just rub firmly. And the paper won't move on you if you're careful because the ink is sticky and it holds the paper in its place. So I made sure I rubbed all around the edge of the mask and got the ears, and I tried to get between the eyes and the nose and the mouth. Okay, and then I'm going to pull off my paper. And so there you can see my print from my printing plate. And that turned out pretty good. I didn't get a lot of ink here, but I can still see the edge of my mask, so where that is, because I need to know that because we're going to cut these out later when the ink is dry. So that's a good print. So I'm going to set that on the drying rack. I'm going to ink up again, get some more ink on my brayer, and roll that out. Make sure you get your paper to fit on top of your printing plate and not off to one side. And then I'm going to rub again, rub all along the edges. I'm going to do this 2 more times for the remainder of my papers. I'm really pressing firmly with my finger and really trying to rub in there, and you can see almost where the mouth is, get around that, where the nose is, and the eyes, so that I get a good print. If I just kind of rub gently and I don't push very hard and try to get in between those cracks and crevices, then the only thing that's going to print are the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and the details, because those are raised. But we want to get this lower part too of the mask. We want to get that mask shape, so you really have to get your fingers in there and rub. Okay, so once you get your 4 prints pulled from your plate, you can put your plate on the drying rack if you want to take it home and let the ink dry on there, and then you can take it home, or you can put this in the recycle bin. So on the last day, you're going to get your 4 prints back, all nice and dry and ready to go. And what I want you to do is cut out the outer edge of your mask. And if you can't really see the outer edge of your mask, it's hard to tell, Then you're gonna take the base plate again and you're gonna lay it down on top, and you're gonna trace around it with your pencil so you can see where clearly you need to cut. So you trace around it with your pencil and cut on it. And if you do trace it with a pencil, then you need to cut just inside the pencil line and cut that pencil line off there so that we don't see the pencil line after you cut out your print. Okay, so once you get your 4 mask shapes cut out, you're going to get 4 black pieces of paper, and you're going to glue each one of these to the center of the black paper. And I want you to put a frame of glue on the back of each of your cut mask shapes. Then you're going to get a large white piece of paper. You're going to write your name and the day you have art. You're going to fold it in half 2 times. Your name on the outside. Open it up. And then you're going to place each one of these in each of the boxes, middle of the rectangles, just like this. I want you to center them inside the creased rectangle. So make another frame of glue. Here's the rectangle right here. Find the middle. Make sure it's not crooked. And glue it down. Once you get the first one glued down, you can use the rest of them to kind of line up. So I can use this one to line up the top and the bottom. Make sure they're equal. And then I can line up this way for this bottom rectangle. Make sure they're lined up evenly. And there you have your finished African mask additive process printing plate. So you added your pieces for the additive process and you've created an African mask so you can identify African art. Good job, Third.